All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a really huge idea, how supply chains are evolving, and what that means for, well, everything. We're about to see how the systems we built for moving things are about to completely change how we move ideas. So, if you just step back and look at history, we humans have gotten incredibly good at building systems to move valuable stuff around. First, we totally mastered the supply chain for physical goods. Ships, trains, trucks, all that, moving everything from coffee beans to computer chips. Then, we built a global supply chain for capital, for money, zipping it around the world in an instant. And most recently, we built one for code, letting us distribute software and apps pretty much anywhere. But that leaves this big, hanging question mark, doesn't it? What's next on the list? Well, the next frontier is something else entirely. It's not about physical stuff anymore, or even digital services in the way we usually think about them. We are now heading straight into an era that's all about knowledge itself. And there it is. That's the answer to our question. The next great human project is building a supply chain for pure knowledge, a system that's literally designed to source, to verify, and to transport information and intelligence. Okay, this is the real head scratcher, right? I mean, you can picture a cargo ship. You get how a wire transfer works. But knowledge? How do you put an idea in a box? How can you possibly verify where it came from and make sure it gets where it's supposed to go, untampered with? Let's take a look. So to really get our heads around this, we need to peek inside what's being called the knowledge pipeline. We're going to get into the actual nuts and bolts, the mechanics, of how this brand new economy is being put together. The whole idea really hinges on this, a transparent pipeline. And the analogy is just perfect. Imagine every single piece of data, every bit of information as its own little package. In this system, it's not just thrown in randomly. It moves like a verified shipment. It's tracked, it's authenticated all the way from its origin to its final destination. So at the very beginning of this pipeline, you have the data inputs. The company developing this, X and Y, breaks them down into a few types. You can think of X data as the really structured stuff, like your spreadsheets and databases. Y data is a bit more unstructured, let's say. Think text from articles or video feeds. And frontier data, that's the really new, raw stuff from the edge. The main takeaway here is that the pipeline is being built to handle all of it. So how does it actually work in practice? Well, it all boils down to a pretty straightforward three-step process. First, data gets put into the system. Second, and this part is absolutely critical, its provenance gets verified. And finally, the system handles incentives and settlement. Let's just quickly break down what those last two really mean.
Provenance. Okay, this is a word you are going to be hearing a lot more of. All it means is the verified origin and history of a piece of data. The analogy here is perfect. Just think of it like a digital made-in label. It answers those basic questions. Where did this come from? Who created it? What's its story? This whole step is about one thing: trust.
But a pipeline is totally useless if nothing flows through it. And that's exactly where incentives come in. A supply chain just doesn't work unless people are motivated to be a part of it. In this system, incentives are the rewards that are given to people who contribute valuable data. It's the engine that makes sure the pipeline isn't just full, but full of high-quality, useful information. And finally, you have settlement. This is what makes it all official. Just like in finance, settlement is that last step. It's the process of confirming the data was delivered, it was verified, and the person who contributed it got their reward. It turns the simple exchange of knowledge into a real, legitimate economic event. Okay, so we've looked at the mechanics, the pipeline, the provenance, the incentives. But what's the point of all this? Let's zoom out and look at the really big picture, because this isn't just about moving data around. This is about building an entirely new kind of economy. Think about any market that's ever existed. What are the three most basic things you have to be able to do? You have to be able to price things, move things, and own things. This new system is being designed to do exactly that, but for intelligence itself. So what we've been talking about, it's not just a clever new app or some piece of software. It is so much bigger than that. What we're looking at is the fundamental infrastructure, the roads, the ports, the banking system, for a brand new intelligence economy. This quote from the source material just ties it all together perfectly. All of those pieces we talked about, the pipeline, the verification, the settlement, they are the building blocks. The building blocks that will allow intelligence and knowledge to be formally priced, to be moved from one person to another, and to be owned as a real, verifiable asset. It's a complete economic model, but for ideas.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty mind-bending thought to close on. We've spent this whole time looking at the how and the what. But what about the what if? If knowledge itself becomes a traceable, verifiable asset with a clear origin, what does that mean for the future of truth? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Thanks for watching.